All right, let's dive into Atomic Habits today.
Yeah.
This book by James Clear.
Great.
It's all about tiny changes leading to big results.
Yeah, and what's interesting is,
And I think that's perfect for our listeners.
Yeah, truly.
People who are really into efficiency.
What makes Clear's approach so great is that it comes from his own life, you know?
Yeah, and I was so fascinated by his story.
Oh, yeah.
Like a baseball bat to the face in high school.
Wow.
Broken bones, long recovery.
It's amazing.
It's incredible how he turned that into, exploring habits.
That's how he found out that small, consistent changes,
Right.
what he calls atomic habits, can lead to huge change over time.
It's like that saying, right?
Yeah.
Small hinges swing big doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think this book really connects with people.
Yeah.
It feels doable.
Absolutely.
Like something we can actually do in our busy lives.
It's about building a system for getting better, just
Yeah.
one tiny step at a time.
Okay, so let's break down this system. Clear starts by explaining how habits work in our brains.
Right.
This 4-step loop,
Mm-hmm.
cue, craving, response, reward.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Can you walk us through that a bit?
It starts with a cue, something that triggers the behavior.
Okay.
It could be anything like the time of day,
Right.
a place, or even a feeling.
Okay.
And that cue then makes you crave something,
Okay.
which is what's driving the habit.
So you're looking for a reward, basically.
You want that reward.
So let's say you're walking into the kitchen.
Okay.
You see a plate of cookies just sitting there.
Yeah.
That seeing them triggers a craving
Right.
for something sweet.
Of course.
And then that
Makes
craving,
you eat a cookie.
that's the response.
Exactly.
And then you get the reward, that good feeling
Yep.
from having something sweet.
And that reward makes the whole cycle stronger.
Right.
The better the reward, the stronger the habit.
Okay.
It's a loop that can easily become automatic without us knowing it.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It explains why we get those urges seemingly out of nowhere.
Right.
It's probably a cue that we're not even aware of.
Exactly.
Now, how does Clear suggest we get more aware of these cues?
He talks about this thing called the habits scorecard.
Okay.
It's all about becoming a detective of your own actions.
So like making a list of all the things we do automatically.
Exactly.
Like brushing our teeth,
Yeah.
checking social media.
But the important part is to judge each habit.
Okay.
Ask yourself, is this good, bad, or neutral?
Right.
Does it help me reach my goals, or does it hold me back?
Okay.
You can't change a habit until you really know it's there.
That really hits home for me.
Yeah,
It's like shining a light on those hidden patterns we all have.
exactly.
But how do we actually change those habits once we know what they are?
And that's where one of the most powerful ideas from the book comes in.
Okay.
The power of small gains.
I know this is something you're all about.
Oh, yeah.
Efficiency,
Small changes.
big results.
It's a winning formula. It's based on the idea that progress doesn't always happen in a straight line.
Okay.
We might not see huge changes overnight, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening.
Right.
Small, consistent improvements can lead to significant change over time.
Like that quote, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
Exactly.
That really speaks to the idea of focusing on the journey, not just the destination.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me of the melting ice cube analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain that to our listener?
Absolutely.
I don't know if like that.
Imagine you're trying to melt an ice cube.
Okay.
You slowly raise the temperature, but for a while it looks like nothing is happening.
Okay.
But then suddenly you hit a certain point
Right.
and the ice melts into water.
It's like that moment of breakthrough where all that effort suddenly shows.
Exactly.
So to our listener, remember, even when you don't see results right away, keep going.
You're getting closer to that melting point.
Don't give up when you're just 1 degree away from melting that ice cube.
It's-
But it's not just about what we see on the outside, right?
Right.
It's about how these small changes change us on the inside.
Exactly. Clear says our habits aren't just actions.
Well-
They show what we believe about ourselves.
Okay.
If you always make healthy choices, you start to see yourself as a healthy person.
Right.
It becomes part of who you are.
So it's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Our actions shape our beliefs.
Yes.
And those beliefs then shape our future actions.
That's right.
That's powerful.
It leads to Clear's idea of identity-based habits.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on the result,
Right.
think about the kind of person you want to be.
So instead of wanting to lose weight, you start seeing yourself as someone who's all about health and fitness.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big shift.
It can be really effective.
Okay.
If you really see yourself as a runner,
Yeah.
you're more likely to make choices like a runner.
Okay.
Your actions match the person you want to be.
But how do we put that into practice? How do we choose the right habits to support who we want to be?
Right.
There are so many options. It can be overwhelming.
Well, this is where the idea of finding a game where the odds are in your favor comes in.
Okay.
It's about knowing that we all have different strengths and weaknesses.
So it's not about picking any habit.
Right.
It's about finding habits that fit our natural abilities and interests.
Exactly.
Okay.
Clear uses this fascinating example of the Polgar sisters, these 3 Hungarian chess prodigies.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of them.
Their father believed you could make geniuses and raise them in a totally chess-obsessed environment.
They were like surrounded by chess from day one.
Yeah, and it worked.
It's incredible how they all became amazing chess players.
Right, but that level of focus isn't always possible for everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
So how can we use that idea in a more practical way?
Right.
Think about things you already enjoy doing.
Okay.
Is there a way to turn those into good habits?
Okay.
Maybe you love being outside. Could you start taking a daily walk?
That's a great place to start.
It's about building on what you already like to do.
But even with the right habits, our environment can still play a huge role in our success, right?
Absolutely.
Clear talks about how our surroundings can either help or hurt our habits.
It all goes back to those cues.
Right, like the baby seagulls fixated on that red dot.
Exactly.
We're programmed to respond to things around us.
And if you're surrounded by temptations,
Right.
like junk food or your phone constantly buzzing,
Yeah.
it's harder to stay focused.
So if you want to read more, keep a book by your bed.
Right.
If you want to work out in the morning, set out your clothes the night before.
Exactly.
Make it easy to do the good stuff.
It's about designing your environment to make good habits easier and bad habits harder.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
We need to know our triggers, set up our environment to support our habits, and then focus on building those tiny habits consistently.
It's all about creating that system for success.
And that brings us to another important part.
Yes.
Staying motivated over time.
Even with good intentions, our excitement can fade.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's easy to be excited at the start,
Right.
but then life happens and we slip back into old ways.
How do we keep that momentum going?
Right. How do we do that?
This is where Clear introduces the Goldilocks rule.
Okay.
Think about how Goldilocks wanted her porridge.
Yeah.
Not too hot, not too cold, just right.
I see where you're going with this.
We're most motivated when we're doing things that are challenging enough to keep us interested,
Okay.
but not so hard that we